Welcome back. It's a few minutes before we close off the show, but today being a Thursday, we cannot do so without talking about the world of tech. And today, as promised, we'll take a look at the world of programming, to be specific, here in Kenya and out the African continent. I have Rehema Wachira. She's a software developer here with me in studio, as well as Joseph Osira, senior developer at Andela. It's so good to have you guys here this morning. Joseph, for the sake of our audience, let's begin by perhaps defining what is programming. Is it just coding, those things that we see? What is programming?
Sure, Zinzi. Programming is the art of solving problems using computer software. So it involves design, development, and maintenance of that particular piece of software. So that's what programming is.
So it's just tech solving problems?
Yeah.
All right. Rehema, what our audience might not know is that Rehema, being a software developer, has never stepped into a class. Take us through how you found yourself in this unique industry, not having even studied it.
Absolutely. So software development in general is utilizes a lot of self-driven learning. Because the technology changes so quickly, having a computer science degree is very helpful because it gives you a great foundation, but you will always be committing to continuous learning. So the way that I entered the industry, I actually came from a different industry completely. I worked in marketing.
Oh, wow.
But I worked for one of our telcos, and I got to see the impact that technology, especially mobile payments and mobile money, have had on our country and on people's abilities to explore the economy more and explore different business opportunities and lifestyle opportunities. And so I wanted to be more involved in that creation of those technology products. So, you know, I did some self-study online. It is possible to find lots of free courses, lots of resources online, but I was also fortunate to find the company that we work for called Andela. So Andela is a technology company, and we develop developers. We provide an environment, resources, and mentorship that helps people transition into becoming technology leaders.
So anyone can be a developer. Is that what I'm hearing? You can, a 5-year-old can become a developer? Because we've seen such stories. We hear like a 5-year-old is coding, and you're like, at 5 years old I wasn't coding, which is fantastic, I mean, especially in this day and age. But does that mean that anyone can become a coder at whatever age? Okay, well, of course, maybe from about 5, you know.
Yeah, yes, ideally, you know, you should be able to be comfortable with a computer. But really the core skills, the core requirements to become a software developer are really around passion. Are you the type of person who looks at problems and thinks, how can I fix this? You know, why does this work this way? Can I make it better? If you're the type of person who finds yourself wondering how you can create a better world, then you can become a software developer. It does require a lot of patience. It does require a lot of practice. You spend a lot of your time working on pretty mentally stimulating, but also mentally taxing work. So you have to have the perseverance and persistence to keep going. But absolutely, if you have a passion for technology, and most importantly, I think if you have a passion for helping people and solving problems, then this software development is a fantastic option.
I love it. So, Joseph, you personally studied it.
Yeah.
Where in Kenya can people study programming?
So a lot of the public university offer courses to teach you how to become a software engineer.
Right.
Some of those courses are computer science and software engineering. Personally, I studied at Kenyatta University, but all the public universities offer an engineering course. So those are some of the places you can go to study how to become a software engineer. But like Rehema said, that's not the only path to becoming a software engineer. There are a lot of resources and organizations out there that offer you the opportunities to learn and acquire those skills.
All right, and you talked about problem solving. In short, programming is solving problems using tech. Perhaps some of the problems that you, as Andela, have solved as well, and even the industry at large that you can think of, where we can say a typical example where programming has played a role in being the solution.
Sure. Andela itself partners with that. We have a lot of partners that we work with across various industries, from health to media to finance. So, for example, in finance, we have a lot of partners who work in the credit industry in terms of providing solutions to help farmers or business people acquire and get access to credit. So those are some of the problems that we can tackle with technology.
All right, and perhaps in the world of medicine, because that's farming, and farming is quite big, especially here in the African continent, a lot of young people have gone into agribusiness. In other sectors as well, education, medicine, You mentioned banking as well?
Yeah. Sure. In the health industry especially, we are seeing new applications that are coming up that use machine learning and AI to kind of predict in advance these diseases that you might have and allow you to get treatment earlier. In education, there are a lot of applications out there that help you learn and acquire skills in other courses and industries. So, for example, right here in Kenya, we have the One Laptop Per Child program, and the applications that will live on those laptops that will help the teachers impact knowledge on the kids. Yeah.
Okay, so you've talked a lot about the problem solving, but what about on the African continent? Do we have, first of all, let's demystify the challenges perhaps the industry uniquely faces, being an industry that is not as popular as your typical traditional job. But what are some of the challenges that software developers and programming in general face here in Kenya?
So I think one of the challenges is that people do not understand what it means to be a software engineer. And when you talk to a lot of people out there, they do not understand what programming is, and that's why we are here today, to demystify that. And so that's one of the challenges. The other challenge is that we do not, people don't know how to access those resources. So for example, you say there are a lot of resources available online, but people do not know about those resources or how to go about to search and find those resources. So those are some of the challenges available. But in Africa itself, we're seeing huge growth in this particular industry. Andela itself, we are 700 plus developers as a company. And so I think, and our mission is to show that brilliance is evenly distributed across the world, including in Africa.
All right, so Rem, as we're trying to understand what programming is, he's talked about artificial intelligence. Is AI programming?
Artificial intelligence is an application of programming. So if you look at programming as a whole as a way of using technology to solve problems, there are many different ways in which you can solve different types of problems. And you have to pick, the same way a builder will know whether to pick a hammer or a chisel, you know,
etc.
Exactly. Okay. So the same in software development, you need to pick the right tool to solve the right problem. The good thing about this industry is that there are so many, even within software development as a practice itself, there are so many different focuses and specializations. So things like machine learning and artificial intelligence are just one, a very big one, a very impactful one, but it is just one. There is also things like blockchain. We hear a lot about cryptocurrency, web development, which is probably the most common. But even when you think of things like when you enter your car, if you have a radio and it's a digital radio, somebody had to program that radio. You know, your washing machines now also come with software. So there are so many different aspects of this, and you can enter the industry as a software developer. You can also become a product manager. You could become a engineering manager. You could also become a software architect. Those are the people who lay out like the blueprints for the applications that we design. So there's also design. So there's many different aspects, and I think there's really a space for everyone.
Now that we are on AI, allow me to divert, but we'll come back to programming. Where is Kenya's space when it comes to artificial intelligence? It's become quite popular, but where is Kenya's role? Where are we playing with the big boys when it comes to artificial intelligence? Or do we still have a long way to go?
That's an interesting question. I think, you know, we still have some ways to go in that space. Again, as Joseph was saying, we don't have enough people coming into the industry to begin with, right? So we need to have more people becoming software developers, you know, focused on STEM as a whole, so science, technology, and maths and engineering, because all of those help to build competencies that help, you know, people build machine learning and AI specializations. So it's not just the one thing that we need to do. It's actually a lot of work that we need to do in order to make sure that we're up to speed with the rest of the world in that space.
I mean, Joseph Rema was talking about, for her, being a software developer, a lot of it has to do with passion first and foremost, then constantly learning, because the industry you're in is always evolving and changing, right? What are some of the trends that you foresee happening within programming?
Sure. Some of the trends that we're seeing coming up are an interest in blockchain in particular, and that is the technology behind Bitcoin that has become so popular, and you hear people talking about. The other areas is in AI and machine learning. There's huge demand for talent in that particular area, and that's why we're saying we need more people to come into the industry, and perhaps with a focus on that particular area. Yeah.
There's also one thing that I've noticed a lot, especially with the big moguls from the likes of Bill Gates to Elon Musk, is that technology with a cause. A lot of technology is being used in medicine, as you've said. A lot of technology is being used to see how we can conserve the earth, especially with global warming in different ways, how we can combat pollution and etc. Perhaps some of the opportunities, Basira, that you see for software developers, especially more so on the African continent, given that a lot of young people, the population, Africa is the youngest, continent. We have about 60% of people below the age of 25 on the continent. So perhaps some of the opportunities that you see within the industry that young people can tap into.
Sure. One of the things I'll mention is that technology transcends borders, and so it's really interesting that if you get into the industry, you should not limit yourself just to within Africa. The opportunities are available across the world, but just talking about Africa itself, we are more interested in solving problems that are closer to home. So there are a lot of issues in Africa that we can help solve with technology in particular. So in terms of health, improving the health services, when we go to the hospitals, how fast can we get access to health there? In terms of education, how well can we structure the curriculum and provide resources to students to enable them to acquire the skills that they need. So those are some of the areas that I think we can use technology to improve.
Rahima, I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially opportunities for women in the industry.
Yeah, I think, something that we really believe in, like I believe in personally, and Andela also believes in a lot, is that as a continent, we may have missed the Industrial Revolution, but we should not miss the technological revolution. It's ongoing right now. We have every opportunity to dive in and make full use of it, and especially for the youth population, because we are such a young continent. So I think one of the things that you'll find even globally is that specifically women only represent about 7% of the technology population, which is a very low number for something that's so crucial and so important. At Andela, we're at 27% female developers. So we're doing better, and we still are working hard to make sure that our numbers are increasing. And what this means in the grand scheme of things is that technology can be a great level of opportunity. It opens up opportunity for everyone, women and youth alike. As long as you have a passion for technology, for solving problems, and you can take the time to really learn and build and develop yourself and develop the communities around you, then technology and software development as one of the fields within technology can really help to raise all boats.
Do you think women are proactive in that field, that genuinely want to participate in the world of technology? Or do we still need a little bit of a push and inspiration?
I believe they do. I think the challenge is, and for someone like me especially, who transitioned into technology from a different career, nobody ever said to me in school, hey, you could be a programmer. All the examples we have of famous programmers, like you mentioned, the Bill Gates, Elon Musks, Mark Zuckerbergs, they're all men. They're all from the West. They all started programming in their parents' basements or garages. We don't have basements or garages, but it doesn't mean that we also cannot participate. And we have a lot of value to bring to the table, because in order to build solutions that work for everyone, you need everyone to be part of the solution. So technology, at the end of the day, is built by humans for humans. And if we don't have proper representation, and that means women, that means people from the cities and people from outside of the cities. It means people all over the continent coming in with their different perspectives. That's how we build solutions that work for everyone.
Right. Joseph, are you of the same school of thought, especially when it comes to perhaps seeing more women in your area?
Yeah, definitely. I believe technology does not discriminate against race or gender, and we really need participation from everybody across the spectrum.
Let's talk about the issue of copyright. So you have this great idea, you've come up with a certain program that will solve a certain solution. Where, especially here in Kenya, where does one start when it comes to protecting your work? Rahima, let me hear your thoughts as I head over to Joseph as well.
Sure. So in software development, we have a very big culture of open source. Most of the technology that we use today, even when you open your laptop, it was based off of open source technology. And what that means is that a group of people chose to create and build this technology, but they don't own it, right? They put it out into the world and they say, and there's specific licenses that are attached to it, but essentially they say this is free for anyone to use and to modify and to change. Right. So for individuals who are thinking about building something and wanting to protect it and make sure that it isn't stolen in any way, there are ways to go about that, legal ways to go about that, but it's important to consider the fact that a lot of the technology that you use to build your new technology
have also come from someone's idea.
Exactly, were always someone's idea.
Nevertheless, Joseph, what if you end up coding the next Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, where you can send text without necessarily having to use your traditional text, and you've come up with the next big idea, right? Then what next?
What next? So, as people usually say that you want to contribute back because somebody contributed to your success initially, and that's why we are big on the open source message. That being said, there are usually other avenues to protect certain parts of your intellectual property, such as patents and copyrights. So that is one avenue you can take. It does take a while when you apply for those things for you to get the approval, but that's one way of protecting the intellectual property that you have. But our focus is always on contributing back to the society and helping inspire the next innovative idea. And your focus should be on building your business and making it as successful as possible, and not a focus on limiting people's access to the information that...
Right. Are there bodies in Kenya that one can go to register what you're talking about, the copyrights and your intellectual property, to be specific in the world of tech?
Yeah, there are bodies in Kenya. I don't have the right name in my head right now, but there are bodies in Kenya available for you to go and register.
Right, right. What would you like to see, perhaps, that is not there within the industry? Are there policies that make sure that govern and protect software developers and the industry in itself, Rehema?
I think a lot of work has been done to lay the foundation for our digital revolution, which is what helps us do our job better, right? So things like access to internet, strong internet all over the country, things like that. The infrastructure is very important. I think additionally, having more awareness of what it is that software developers do is one thing when you're an adult, but it would be really wonderful if we could start doing this in school from a younger age. So a really well-rounded education, I believe, has equal parts social sciences and the scientific world, and that would include technology. Making sure that people are comfortable with the basics, phones, laptops, and all of that, so that as they progress through their education, they can think past the tool, the machine, and start to think, how do I actually build how do I use this to build other things?
Right. So for you, you'd love to see it being incorporated more at the education level, as early as primary.
Exactly.
Joseph, for you?
I think I have similar thoughts to Rehema. If you visit other countries, children as young as 5, like you said, have been introduced to the world of software development. And for us to be competitive here in Africa, you also need to start doing the same. In terms of rules and policies, I will not want to see that software engineering in nature is a creative process, and you don't want to shackle that process with policies and bureaucracies around it. So similar thoughts too.
All right, there's this, I don't know whether I should call it a stereotype, but there's this thought that if I lock myself in my basement and code, I could be the next Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, right? Is that going into programming for the wrong reasons?
Well, I guess people have their different approaches, but I think us sitting here today is to say, this is what software developers look like. It's not the stereotype of the lone person with a hoodie.
Yes, pizza in a dark somewhere basement. In a Coca-Cola coding for days and days.
Yes, I mean, I love wearing hoodies, but that aside, it's an extremely collaborative process because, again, at the end of the day, we're building systems. We're building something that didn't exist, and we create it, and now we have something that exists that people interact with. In order to do that, you need a really clear idea of what it is you're solving for, what it is that you're creating, what you want it to do. And to do that, you need multiple people. So, and we work with both technical people and non-technical people in order to come up with the plans. And then after that, it's a process, an iterative process where you build, you check, does this make sense? Does it work? Did we break anything? Probably did. Go back, fix it, add the next feature, and continue like that.
All right. So Joseph, a young developer or someone who is interested in joining your field could be watching, but they're asking, how do I tell my parents that I would want to go into this industry? In short, does it pay? Does it put a meal on my table, a roof over my head? Joseph?
Sure. Software engineering is a really successful field. It does pay. I believe we're here, so
Yes.
it does pay. It does pay, and as Rema mentioned, there are lots of career growth paths available to you. You can become a CTO, you can become a CEO, you can become a VP of engineering, a software architect. These are all career growth paths that are available to you when you start off your career as a software engineer. Yeah.
Rehema, your thoughts to that as well? Perhaps a young person who's asking, how do I begin this conversation with my parents?
Yeah, I think, software development, programming, technology in general, if you're describing those to your parents and you keep saying, this is the future, technology is in every single part of our lives, and it is in every single industry. So there really is no better industry to enter. And what's fantastic about it as well, in addition to all of the different career paths that you can choose within it, it's really a fantastic combination of creativity and logic. And those are skills that you can use in any industry. And this is a great way to build up those skills.
Right. Yeah. Rehema, do you think the likes of Google, the likes of, YouTube is still under Google, but in short, big organizations like Google, private developers in short, in the tech world are really paying attention in growing and nurturing the talent here on the African continent? Or are we still, at the sideline, while the big boys are on the table?
I think actually Kenya is one of the best countries to be in right now for technology and for technologists. The big boys are here, the Googles and the Microsofts are here. However, there are many opportunities to become a software developer and join different communities that support each other, whether or not you're affiliated with some of the big boys. I think what's great about it, again, is that it does lower barriers to entry. So you don't have to necessarily be associated with those big companies in order to be successful. Yeah.
But I'm sure the private sector has a role to play, Joseph, when it comes to nurturing this, as much as the government would as well. Rehema gave the example of where she would love to see this being taught at a primary level. Yeah. Do also private sector have a role to play in seeing this industry flourish on the African continent?
Sure, they do. And one of the ways that they do that is across Africa. We have over 400 tech hubs, and those hubs offer a space for people to come and learn and acquire those skills in software engineering. Yes, so that's one of the roles that they play in the industry. Yeah.
All right, and where would one begin in the sense that all right, for you it's different. Rehema, your story is quite unique. You did marketing and then you decided to change your lane. Yeah. But for someone as Joseph, who I'm guessing you knew from the word go, this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
So I knew from high school this is what I wanted to do. So I was really focused on taking the traditional path to becoming a software engineer. But a lot of my friends in the industry do not take that path. They have a similar story to Rehema, as they come from different industries, music, finance, and transition to becoming software engineers. Yeah.
All right, thank you guys so much. I'll let Rehema have the last comment, a closing comment perhaps.
Sure, I would say this is a fantastic industry to join, and I think, again, if you're sitting at home and thinking, is this the right space for me, the only way for you to find out for sure is to try it out.
Just try it out.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for being here, both of you.
Thank you.
Rehema Washira, she is a software developer, as well as Joseph Busire, the senior developer at Andela, just helping us understand the world of programming here in Kenya.